Hi, my name is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes, and pay the right vendor. This week's Vendor Master File Tip of the Week is what is considered vendor sensitive data in your ERP. Now, since you already know you need to protect your vendor sensitive data in your ERP, you or your IT team has probably already masked certain fields and follow a least privilege access policy that restricts who has access to your vendor's data. But what data are they protecting? So here are at least three pieces of vendor data that is considered sensitive. So the first one is tax ID. So for U.S. vendors, it can either be the employer identification number, the social security number, or a foreign tax identification number, or an ITIN. Now, both the social security number and the foreign tax identification number can be assigned to an individual, and as such, they are considered sensitive personal information. Now, since some accounting systems have one field for either tax identification number, whatever the vendor has, the tax ID should be considered sensitive personal information. Now, the second one is banking details. Now, many companies I know include banking details on their invoices, especially international vendors. But that's because the accounts that AP uses to make payments are typically deposit only when that occurs. Now, that's not always the case. Many individual single member LLCs do not have deposit only accounts. So banking details are considered sensitive personal information. Not to mention that they are the target of most fraudsters now with business email compromise and trying to get you to change those vendors' bankings. So vendor banking details, definitely a sensitive vendor data in your ERP. Now the third one you may not have thought about is the birth date. In specific scenarios, the IRS in some countries like Italy requires the collection of a birth date for those foreign individuals. Now, birth dates, of course, are considered sensitive personal data that should only be collected for regulatory requirements. Now, I hope that helped identify vendor sensitive data in your ERP. And if you want to read about best practices to protect your vendor sensitive data, I will link to a blog post in the description on just how to do that on community printers, desk, and file cabinets, as many of you are ready or are going to be returning to the office, at least on a hybrid schedule, and it's a great reminder of how to keep that data, that sensitive data, safe as we go back to our regular processes. Now, if you'd like more information on how to combat fraud, please go to my website at debrarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, regulatory fines, and bad vendor data. So good luck, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File Tip of the Week.